Welcome to another video. Today I'm recording one at 10:55 a.m. So it's very early, but there's a reason for this. This video comes off the back of yesterday's video, reflections on the day with the guy by the pier who was considering and who had attempted to take his own life, who I spoke about. So if you haven't seen that one, watch it yesterday, especially if you're currently going through a hard time and you have these types of thoughts. So this is a bit more general, but it applies to everybody, including myself, because it allows you to really reflect on your life in a very clear way. So, and you can very clearly see, it's almost like you're taking a bird's eye view and you're seeing all of these different parts of yourself and what direction they're moving in and where you are right now and how where you are is a reflection of where you've put your focus. So which of the parts you're actually focusing on, because remember they each kind of like, or each of them, or a combination of one or more of them or two or more of them, they have their own directions that they take. So when you look at your life presently, you will see what part you've basically prioritized, if you will. That's actually a good summary of the thing I'm about to read, my journal. So let's read it, because the journal can be a little bit technical sometimes, and I tend to write that way. I'm not sure why, but helps me understand. An important factor in determining what your goals and values are is that of behavior. So essentially, if you want to find out what are you actually aiming for, what do you actually believe, you got to look at how you're acting. If you attend to your own existence as an observer, free of opinions or judgment, you can determine what holds the most value to that state of existence. The reason I'm making that distinction is because that state of existence reflects how you've integrated different parts of yourself or not, and which parts of you you're focusing on. And if those parts are basically they're working in harmony or they're working against one another. So if you attend to your own existence as an observer, you can determine what holds the most value to you. But in that state of existence, because the you, maybe there's a deeper part of you, and you don't know if that you is the real you or if the real you is the you that you're aware of currently. That phrase is important, the state of existence. So your current state of existence, that phrase is important because the you, like I mentioned, you are serving is a specific version or part that you value most. And this is in line with virtually all of my videos, but especially the more recent ones, as far as whatever you value the most is shown by the types of behaviors that you're demonstrating that basically support and reinforce that part. Because, and it goes back to the video that I recorded about how to find out what you actually want as opposed to what you say you want, because those two things may not be aligned. You may have a part of you that's having its needs fulfilled currently that you value more than the part of you that you proclaim that you want, right? So the future that you proclaim that you want is something that you want less than whatever you have now, because what you have now is fulfilling some kind of set of needs. And maybe you're not aware of what those needs are, so you have to bring them to the surface. Or maybe the thing that you say you want is not what you actually want, because it's something that you've been conditioned to believe. And there's a deeper part of you that's like, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. And so it's working against you. So let's run that back. So that the phrase is important, the state of existence, because it basically reflects the specific version or part of you that you value most. And that's demonstrated by your behaviors. Like, how are you acting? And what kind of life are you currently living? The expansion of only that part to the detriment of other parts that perhaps have more noble purposes is equivalent to consuming only one thing, like one type of food. So the expansion of only that part to the detriment of other parts that perhaps have more noble purposes, right? Like generosity, like charity, like compassion, like truth, honest living, authenticity, community, whatever, right? You just name it. Because those other parts of you are there, but they may be dormant, or they may not be the loving parts of you, the parts of you that are expansive, like those parts, like everybody has them, but for some people they're more dormant or they're less developed. And so they need to be developed or brought to the surface so that they could actually be expanded. Is equivalent to consuming only one thing, so one type of food. So what happens when you do that? The consumption, I write here, is not useless, but it must be properly balanced with many considerations and alterations. So a good example is the diet analogy, right? You can't just only eat protein, like just pure protein powder, right? You got to consume the micronutrients, healthy, carbohydrates. If you eat carbohydrates, healthy fats, like you can't just consume, but you can't not consume protein. It's not like you shouldn't consume protein. You should, but in the right quantities and the right ratios in combination with other macronutrients in accordance to what kind of goals you want to achieve. So, therefore, you must look at the effects in your life. This loops everything together. This ties everything together and also loops back to what I said at the beginning of the video, how I summarized this journal before I even read it. Therefore, you must look at the effects in your life, which means your conditions, your physical state, your relationships, just the state of your life, right? You must look at the effects of your life to understand how specifically you must transform to create something new. Because it's not just understanding the root cause where everything comes from. It's like, oh, I'm here because of this and that, the other thing. That's all fine, right? But remember that understanding has to go hand in hand with action, because without doing things that reflect that understanding, it's not true understanding, right? True understanding is like embodied understanding. It's embodied knowledge. So you know something, but you only really know it if you put it into practice. Like if somebody is teaching you something, and we know this as kids, and they're teaching you something that you mess something up on a test or a quiz, and they're like, you do this, and you're like, I know, you've heard that from kids, right? We all said like, I know. Well, if you actually knew, you would actually do it, right? If you really knew. So keep that in mind, right? You must look at the effects of your life. So what does your life actually look like? Who are you? How are you thinking? What's your physical state look like? What do your relationships look like? What kind of career do you have? You have to look at those things in your life to understand specifically how you must transform, because it's not so much, well, all of these things exist because of this reason or these reasons. And especially if you're unhappy or unsatisfied with your life, it's not so much thinking about, what is the root cause. Understanding the cause is important, but what's as important, if not more important, is understanding the future, right? Which means like, what are you trying to create? Who do you want to become? And so if the effects in your life are not a demonstration of that version of yourself, then you have to make changes that will be aligned with that future version. It's like you're future pacing. You're stepping into that role before you become it, in a sense. And so as you do that, you actually become it, paradoxically enough. So yeah, that's that there. And I think the whole purpose of this journal was for us to be able to generate awareness, like massive awareness around our lives. What are we focusing on? What are we prioritizing? What parts are in action, right? Because that's part of the root cause. Like, what are they fulfilling? What do we want? What does our life look like? And based off of how our life looks, who do we have to become? What do we have to do in order to create the life that we see before us? Whether it's having, the perfect partner with, kids, and having a great career that's fulfilling, and you have great connections, and you're part of a community, and you can have the impact that you have, and people can come to you, and they could support, they could come to you for support. They can rely on you. You're like a reliable person who people can trust. Like, you want to become this person. And so what that means is you have to do things that are in line with that. So, and again, that comes down to what you do on a daily basis. And as mentioned this before, it's not so much having a clear vision, a crystal clear vision of exactly what your life is supposed to look like, or you want it to look like in 5 years, because that's probably not that realistic. But you can come up with like a 1 year goal, or even 6 month goal, or 1 month goal, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really coming down to what you're doing in the present. Because if you keep thinking about the future, the future, the future, the future never comes. Tomorrow never comes, as they say, because it's what you're doing now that will create that future. So focus on the day. Sufficient unto the day are the evils thereof in the Bible. I don't remember. So I'm getting better. Okay, it's right there. I'm reading it. I'm getting better. But the point is, and there's something in the Bible there about like taking care of today will, and tomorrow will take care of itself. The reason people keep quoting that and in different like secular forms, not even in biblical terms, the reason people keep quoting that is because it's just a fact of psychology, right? Remember, like religions didn't predate human existence. Okay. So, which means that we're integrated into the stories, like the way our minds work are like integrated into the stories. And listen, I haven't read the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah. I guess that's the Old Testament. But I like the thing is that all of these religions, you see that they have like a lot of common ground, and the common ground is like how humans think. So you also have to think, okay, well, if these texts were created by human beings and there's a lot of wisdom in them, then maybe we should take heed of the information that they're sharing with us, using our discernment, of course. Like I wrote about in an article about, are you questioning your faith? Read that article. It's an excellent article. Same with the video. Are you questioning your faith? Watch that video and read that article. It's going to be excellent if you're kind of struggling with your faith or whatever, or if you don't have any or whatever. So the point here is that the entire point of what I just said was you got to focus on the day, right? What you do today will create tomorrow, and that will create the next day, and so on and so forth, right? So remember, present moment focus, right? So it's like you're in a sense almost future paced, but you're present focused, because what you're doing in the present is really what's going to create the life uh, that you want to live. That's why you can see a lot of people that are always unsatisfied, because they're always like goal oriented, only looking at the future, only looking at what they can achieve, and so they can never be at peace with the beauty of creation and the love that exists in the universe, and be able to really sit and enjoy that and live every day in alignment to the best of our ability, even if we're feeling bad, even if we're feeling low, even if we're feeling fantastic. You know that that's just a part of life, and you do the best that you can, and the best that you can changes every day, but nevertheless it doesn't mean that you still don't do the best that you can. So that was a bit of a ramble there at the end. I probably could have cut that a bit shorter than I than it was than the video is going to be. But in any case, I hope that I got the point across, the message across. I hope the message was clear. And yeah, if you have any comments, let me know. If you like the video, and I'll see you tomorrow.